Hello, today I'm going to show you how to compose using Counterpoint. First thing to do is come up with a basic melodic movement. This is the cantus firmus. It is the rigid subject. It stays the same throughout the whole piece. You could change it, but it's also fun to try and keep it the same and create variation in other ways. So this one is not very musically compelling melody. It's not very interesting. I just kind of plugged it in very quickly. But you can make it more interesting by adding counterpoint to it, so adding counterpunctal movements. The easiest way to do this is by doubling the rhythm. And this really helps to create this new movement and makes it feel like a different voice from the original melody line. Creates this effect of a conversation between voices, which is where the melodic texture of counterpoint comes from. So I came up with three variations, three ways of creating a counterpunctal movement, and I'll show you them now. The first one I more or less jumbled together by just starting, putting a couple notes in and moving them around a little bit to make it sound better, but I didn't really put a lot of effort to it. Maybe spent 5 minutes creating this line. In the second one, I put a little bit more effort into it. I tried to make it have some musical feel. I also changed the rhythm up a little bit, but I didn't put too much effort into it. I probably spent 10 minutes on it. And the third one I put in without listening. I just typed the letters in and thought about the movements, didn't want to make them too big, kind of wanted to make them symmetrical and have it go on a more or less upward and downward journey. It actually came out better than I expected it to, since I wasn't even listening to it. All of them kind of sound like an interesting part in the middle of a song, not necessarily the phrasing where they occur. So what I did was I took all three of these and I put them together in a different order. And what I did to start was something that is often done in fugue music and counterpoint in general, to repeat your subject, your cantus firmus, a fourth below. So that's what I did here. I started our normal line, then when the line repeats for the first time, it is down a fourth. And then I stitched together the rest of these three, and I added another third voice during certain parts and edited it together, and this is what it came out with. So as you can see, it is more interesting than the original content. It's not great, but I threw it together pretty fast and didn't have to think about it too much. I just kind of felt it out once I started stitching it together. And, significantly changed a lot of the rhythm. So I added a lot of these jumpy bits and, some faster movements. So as you can see, you can start with something very basic that's not even musically that interesting, and out of it create and weave a whole textured song that is much more interesting and draws more out of this than what it was originally containing. I decided to edit it one more time, and what I did first of all was add some extra bars, one extra bar here, one here. so that that part comes in on the backbeat. And here you can hear. And then again here. And there I have offset the upper voice by a quarter tone, just slid it over by one, and it gives it that more playful style. I've also added in here a tempo fluctuation, which just really adds to the overall growing and coming down of the energy throughout the song. So here's the whole thing. You can see just by breaking that cantus firmus a little bit, stretching some of those lines out, altering them in some way, you start to get something really interesting and compelling. And you can play with this endlessly. I'm probably going to try and do a second half of this that's less formal and plays on some of the ideas that I've come up with here, but in like a different context. But we'll see where it goes. Thanks for listening. See you later.